Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. Today we're talking about deconstruction. That's right, the buzzword. Is it a buzzword? This is something that's been around for a really long time. People are still talking about it as though it's new. But deconstruction somehow ends up getting a lot of press, specifically when talking badly about it. But it's also a lot of what we do here on this channel, so here we go. The actual act of deconstruction is taking something apart so that you can look at the pieces and decide if the pieces are worth putting back together into a whole. The only reason to be afraid of deconstruction is if you aren't sure that the pieces are worth putting back together. So, evangelicals, if you are afraid of deconstruction, you might want to start asking yourself why. For those of us who are actively involved in deconstruction or have been or, plan to be at some point, deconstruction is a normal and necessary part of growing your faith into what it's supposed to be, into your own, into something that you can absolutely stand behind when things get rough. And isn't that what most spiritual people say they want for people who hold their faith? As many of you know, I worked in the church for a lot of years. When I worked in the church, one of my favorite things was when my students or my young adults would start to question the faith that they had been handed for years and years and years, from their grandparents, their parents, to them. When they would start to say,
wait, this doesn't really make sense.
How does this work with what I know here?
Those conversations were some of the deepest and some of the most enlightening that I had with people. In order to listen to someone else deconstruct their faith, I had to have deconstructed and reconstructed my own, which also makes me wonder about evangelicals who are out there who are saying deconstruction shouldn't happen. Don't talk to me about it, because why are you so afraid? If your faith stood the test, why are you so afraid of people questioning it? That doesn't make any sense. If you believe something to be absolute truth, then people digging into it shouldn't make it less true. If you're someone who is in the process of deconstructing or who has deconstructed their faith, let's talk about a couple things that probably have happened to you. Number one, you've probably lost some people in your life. You've probably lost people who have decided that your deconstruction is way too threatening to them and to their faith. They try to villainize you. I know I was called an abomination way before anyone knew I was queer, because I was questioning things about faith and about God and about Jesus and about the church, really more the church than anything else. But my questioning became so problematic to people, either because they were tired of hearing it or because they were not sure how to answer it. But those inconsistencies that I would point out to them or that I would ask about, I would be met with anger and really just a dismissiveness from people because they didn't want to have to deal with it or deal with me. I don't know. One of the two. So you've likely lost people for the fact that you want to deconstruct and to figure out how this faith thing works, if at all, for you. Which ironically leads to people walking away from faith, because why would you stay if people are calling you all sorts of names because you just want to learn more and you want to learn more about you and about what any of this means? Often people enter deconstructing in an innocent way. They're just asking questions. When those questions are met with a response that is negative or accusatory, you want to know what's behind that response. Typically, if someone has a response to me that I feel is overkill for what has actually happened, I'm going to dig deeper and figure out why they would respond to me like that. If you have deconstructed, you've also probably noticed that a lot of what you used to believe in falls like a house of cards, which can be really disconcerting and disheartening. When things that you've been taught since you were little don't stand up to, a scientific method test or even a little bit of questioning of people who should have answers, that can make you want to throw the whole thing away, right? Because if the foundation of these building blocks isn't sturdy, the whole thing's gonna fall. So why keep pulling if the foundation itself is not there? I thoroughly believe that in churches, we do education really, really poorly because we either teach kids this like light and fluffy, happy thing that's age appropriate and developmentally appropriate, but we don't teach anything behind it until they hit the magic teen years. And then we wonder why things go a little zooey. That's something I never understood when I worked in the church. Why do we do it that way? That's not how it works education-wise in school. And we know it's not how the human brain works. But we also know that a lot of sects of Christianity don't actually believe in science, so I guess there's that. The other thing that happens when you start to deconstruct your faith is pain. You've lost a lot of your support system, you've lost a lot of the things that you believe, and you feel lost. You feel lost. You've lost part of you. When you don't have anywhere to turn in that, and the things that you used to use for comfort, elders in your church, maybe family members, God, prayer, all of those things are out the door because you're not at a point to bring those back in because you haven't finished sorting this stuff out. So we turn to other things. We turn to friends. We turn to YouTube videos. We turn to things that are out there. And how much is out there YouTube-wise or friendship-wise that is authentically helping you hold space for where you're at and just tell you it's okay to be there? I'm telling you it's okay to be there. If you're in the midst of this deconstruction, if you're in the midst of understanding yourself differently in light of what you have or have not decided to keep with you of your faith history, it's okay. There are safe places to do that. You are okay. There have been a lot of personalities recently in the Christian community that have come out against deconstruction and saying that it's wrong, saying it's hypocrisy, saying that we have to stop it. I cannot for the life of me understand why someone who claims to follow a God that loves their people would ever expect people to stop questioning the entity that God has given to love his people, aka the church. Why would we stop questioning? If you start telling people, don't ask questions, just believe, that's going to make people wonder, what are you trying to hide? So church, I guess is the question to you. What are you trying to hide? What are you so afraid people are going to find out if they start pulling apart the things they were taught and looking to see if the pieces fit? When something's broken and you're not sure it's beyond repair, you take it apart so that you can see if the pieces work. Some of the pieces aren't going to work. So you find other pieces that work, and what you rebuild may not look like what you had before, but it will fit the needs of what is now. When we address the needs that we have now, we have faith that fits now. We also have a lighter, agile, more flexible understanding of things around us because when the world shifts again, which we are discovering now more than ever, it can do just like that. We are able to come back and shift and not lose everything because youth ministries and churches teach people,
This is your family.
This is who's going to support you.
The church is a big family and we always have your back and we're always there for each other.
Let's do this for Jesus.
and then once somebody starts really authentically asking questions they want answers to, they're told,
No, no, no.
You'll either understand when you're older or stop asking questions or
This is just something that society wants you to think is important, but it's not important.
can we hold on for a second? When you tell someone that they're thinking something just because society has put it in their head, you have diminished the worth and intelligence of that person to very little more than a photocopier. I'm not a photocopier. I'm a person. I have thoughts. I have feelings. I have ideas. They're not all right. They're not all right. When you say that to people, you are being the least possible positive representative of the God you claim to serve. We live in a time now where it's acceptable to respond with anger to people who question things that we hold dear. And I think that goes across the board. Deconstructing of political beliefs gets you kicked out of a certain party, sometimes made fun of by your own family. Deconstructing of religious beliefs gets you removed from a religious organization or gets people at the very least looking at you funny or removing you from leadership or all sorts of different ways to silence you while you work it out for yourself. Deconstructing your sexual identity can actually get you removed from your family because that's what the self-discovery process is deconstructing heteronormativity. Deconstruction for everyone looks different. And if we could just give each other a little more space and time and care for people's deconstruction processes, we might all be at a much more mature, much more thorough, much more elevated way of thinking by now. But we're not. We're regressing, largely due to trauma, and we need to stop. It needs to stop. If you want to learn more about how the church uses power, you can check out my video right here. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great week, and I will see you next time. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.